Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Wargaming coming at you with another Wargaming miniature video. In this video, we're going to be painting the BAR gunner Ray West. He's one of the expansion figures for 148 Tactic. Now, our first color that we're using is Green Brown by Vallejo. Now, the reason why I'm using Green Brown for his jumpsuit is because I'm painting him up with the iconic D-Day paint scheme, or uniform colors. The game takes place in the Ardennes, or at least that's what the scenarios are all geared for, and it's the 101st versus the 26 Volksgrenadiers, which they're the ones that basically attacked Bastogne. So the 101st at that time should have had green jumpsuits, the 1943 jumpsuits. But I don't care. I'm painting them with the D-Day jumpsuits because, well, first of all, I'll be able to use them during D-Day. Plus, I think the green-brown jumpsuit was more iconic. It looked more distinctive, like you knew exactly what they were and who they were. Now I primed this model using a khaki, a camouflage khaki from Rust-Oleum. And then I've already painted the flesh on all my 148 Tactics models. Yeah, I did that first. So that was a base tone, flesh wash, then mid flesh. There we go. And it doesn't matter if I get it on his pouches or webbing or anything like that, because I'm going to paint those here in just a minute. Okay, so we're going to let Ray West dry a little bit before we move on to the next color. All right, on the next color, we're going to use the Tamiya Olive Drab on his helmet. It is a very dark olive, which is what I want on my helmets. And it's kind of thin, so the khaki webbing will actually shine through on the helmet. All right, so we're going to set that off to the side and let that dry before we move on to the next color. All right, the next color we're painting is model color from Vallejo, red leather. Red leather is the color of the red leather jump boots. They're actually brown, which red leather is kind of a brown color. But they do have kind of a reddish look to them. And red leather is perfect. Paint right up to where the pants are bloused into the boot. It's okay to get some paint on the base as well, because you're going to be texturing the base later anyway. All right, so we'll put that figure off to the side and let it dry. All right, now the next color we're going to use is the Panzer Aces German Field Gray, which is not really gray. You can see what color it is right there. But I'm painting that on the knees, and elbows, where they had created like a canvas knee and elbow extra layer to protect their elbows. and their knees when they were crawling. Okay, let's find his elbow pads. All right, now we're going to let that set to the side and dry a little bit before we move on to the next color. All right, now on my BAR gunner, the Ray West, we're going to go ahead and paint his straps and bags and everything a khaki color. We're using model color khaki. Ammo pouches. Medical pouches. Trenching tool covers. Canteen covers. Are all getting this khaki color. Straps. Sling. All right, so we're going to put the Grenadier off to the, not the Grenadier, the BAR gunner off to the side, and we'll let him dry and be back with the next color. All right, now we're going to use the wood brown on Ray West. You have to understand the BAR, where the wood is on a Browning automatic rifle. It is the buttstock, but it's also the grips in the front, a lot like a Thompson. Okay, so we're going to set that guy off to the side and let the brown dry. All right, now my BAR gunner, Ray West, we're going to go ahead and prepare the metallic areas with a black color. I like to use licorice because it dries kind of it dries kind of like ultra flat. And then I'll put a metallic on top of the black. Any black will do. And also, not just the BAR, but also look for the 101st patch and paint it black. All right, and we're going to let that black dry before we move on to the metallic. All right, we're taking natural steel and we're applying it to that black area, but we're kind of leaving some of the black to shine through. It's not a 100% coverage of the steel. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and let that BAR dry a little bit before we move on to the next step. All right, now Ray West has a boot knife, so I'm using the German camo black brown, and what we're going to do is we're going to paint the sheath and the handle this color. Okay, and we're going to set him off to dry. All right, the next step on this model is to apply a quick shade light tone. We're going to do a 100% coat of the light tone over every portion of the model. This is not diluted, it's not watered down. This is full a wash. What the wash should do is settle into the cracks, cover any mistakes. It should highlight some of the straps, stuff like that. All right, he's completely covered. We're going to set him off to the side and let him dry. All right, now the next step is to kind of clean up what the wash had done. We're going to use green brown again, and we're going to go over the jumpsuit, but we're only going to touch the highlighted areas, the raised areas, and we're going to leave the wash to its own devices underneath. So if you see a fold in the fabric, try to only hit the raised area and leave the lower portion in the dark with the wash. All right, and we go over the entire model this way. Okay, this guy's got a lot of folds in his pants. And if you notice, I've been avoiding doing any of the leg straps, just letting the wash bring that out. Okay, his jacket. His arms, little epaulets on the jacket, cuffs, his collar. Yeah. bullet. And it's okay if you mess up a little bit on the fabric, because you're putting the original color back on anyway. You're just cleaning up some of the where some of the washes might have taken over and made it too dark. Okay, I think we highlighted everything. Okay, so we're going to let this guy dry and we'll go on to the next color. All right, then our next step with this guy is we're going to highlight his gear using the original color, khaki. But again, just like the fabric, we're going to only hit the raised areas where the most impact would be. All right, now on his equipment, we're going to do left side, right side, center, and top flap on his E-tool, right? Then we're going to do something similar to that on his canteen. We're going to hit the two top flaps of his canteen cover. Then we're going to go left and right. There we go. And then we're going to do all of his ammo pouches. Now, because he's a BAR gunner, his ammo pouches tend to be a little bit larger. So in this case, we're going to do a top and a bottom of each ammo pouch. The bottom part is under where the flap is, and then the top above the flap, leaving the wash to kind of provide a shadow. All right. All right, he looks really good back there. Now we're going to set him off to the side and let him dry, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, the next step on this model is to paint the edge of the base. What we're going to do is we're going to use U.S. Army green along the edge. And I don't not only just paint the edge, but I also paint a little bit of the flat. I come up over the edge, over the corner here, just to make sure that edge of the base is fully covered, so that when I go to put my texture and my flock on there, there's no khaki shining through. Kind of like that. All right, let's set that off to dry and we'll be right back. All right, now the first step in applying a texture to the base is I use a Tester's synthetic brush. I put Elmer's in my palette, and then I apply the glue to the base using the brush. I don't apply the glue directly from the bottle to the base. I had done that in the past, and sometimes I would get too much glue, or it would spill, or it would seek out over the edges. So what I do now is I put glue in my palette and I use my brush to apply the glue. I paint it on to the base. And that way I know I've got enough glue and I've got good coverage. Now I'm actually putting enough glue on here where I see white everywhere. I want there to be a white. That way I know there's glue there. All right, and then I come over here to my mixture and I sprinkle my mixture. Then I let it sit, and I'm going to let it dry just like that. All right, the next step for this model is we're going to use some Battlefield Grass Green from Army Painter. We're going to apply some Elmer's glue. Here I got some Elmer's glue. I'm going to put it in my palette. And then we're going to use the brush to apply it to the base. Now we're going to gently apply it. We're not going to rub it on. We're basically dabbing it on. And we're going to do it about 2/3 of this base top here is going to be covered in this Elmer's pattern. And you can make any pattern you want. There's no right or wrong pattern. And I'm gently patting it on there because I don't want to scratch any of the ballast off if any of the glue hasn't dried yet. Okay, I think we've got about 2/3, maybe a little more. And then what we'll do is we'll sprinkle glue, or sprinkle the flock onto the base, and we cover the entire base. And we actually put a little extra on there to let it mound up. And then we're going to let that sit for a little while. When we come back, we'll shake it off and we'll show you what it looks like. All right, this is Ray West, the BAR gunner. All right, guys, this is my 7 148 Tactic Americans. Tell me what you thought about the painting of each individual one, and come back and check out when I do the Germans. I'm going to do the Germans individually as well. All right, and I'll see you in the next one.